Hi everyone, I'm Ruth Burke of Soulfully Me here on YouTube and Instagram. Thanks so much to everyone who watched my first video and is coming back for video number 2. And if you're new, welcome! This is where I share all of my sewing, quilting, knitting, and cross-stitch projects. A few updates and kind of info for everyone that I forgot to mention in my first video. The first is that I've put timestamps in the description box below. So if you are here for the Flosstube and you're not interested in the quilting or in the knitting, feel free to use those to navigate directly to the part of the video that you want to watch. Another quick thing is I would like to shout out my husband and my oldest daughter for all of their help producing these videos. They have worked really hard behind the scenes to help me with all the tech and the video editing. That is not my forte, so I just wanted to say thank you to them. And I believe that was all my updates. Oh, one last thing. Any links that I put in the description box below, they are not clickable. YouTube thinks I'm a bot. So, I don't know about you, but I did not know that bots were moms. I have a big mom sign. I don't know how I'm a bot, but apparently I am. And so for the next month or so, my links will not be clickable until YouTube figures out that I am a real person. Alright, so that's it. That's all my announcements. It's all I wanted to share that I forgot to mention in my first video. And let's get right into the projects. So, what do I have for you today? I have a few new sewing projects that I didn't mention last time, and then some updates on some of the ones that I've been working on this month that are a continuation of my works in progress. First things first, I have been working on an advent calendar, and this is something I've always wanted to sew, and I'm super excited to finally be making one. I have found this downloadable pattern, and I've covered up the cutting directions here because if you want to make this, please purchase the pattern. I will put the link in the description box below, but this is Quilt 101 Advent Calendar. It is charm pack friendly, everyone. I am using a layer cake that I cut up into the required dimensions according to the pattern, and I am using Garden Party by Rifle Paper Co. I love Rifle Paper Co. fabric. Absolutely. I'm a huge sucker for it. If I see it, I'm just tempted to buy it everywhere. But the Garden Party layer cake had these purples and greens that were just gorgeous. And I thought that would make a beautiful advent calendar. So here you can see my progress. I have sewn up all 6 rows. Each row will have 4 pockets. And see if I can get this a little closer for you. I've pinned them to my background fabric. This is linen that I purchased locally, probably either from Needles and Bolts over here in Philly or Sew Central. If anyone's curious about local fabric shops, I can put their info in the description box as well. But this is just a really nice kind of slubby linen, and I just think this is going to be beautiful. So when I am done, I will share what it looks like. I'm planning on binding it with a dark green that brings out the green in the purple and cream fabric there. The next project that I worked on is something that has been sitting on my table for over a year. It's kind of embarrassing how long it sat, but the reason it sat is because, well, I love making quilts and enjoy the piecing and the selection of fabrics. I love cutting out my fabrics. I love everything about quilting except the quilting. So I made one of my daughters a heart quilt from this book by Bonnie and Camille, and I will show you a picture of the quilt so you can see what I am talking about here. So when you make this quilt, you make these large heart blocks and you sew a corner square on the corner here. You sew and flip. It's called sew and flip. But you sew on the diagonal, you iron over your square, and you cut off the excess. And it makes these beautiful hearts. Well, I had a lot of extra triangles, and I thought I wanted to use them. If you know anything about me, you know I love using up my scraps. So I took another pattern from this book. See these giant stars, and I just replaced this unit right here, where you see those 3 red triangles, with a triangle that I'd cut off from my hearts. So each block used 2, 4, 6, 8, 12 of my triangles. And I made 2. I think I used all but like, so here's my first block. And this is using all Bonnie and Camille fabric. I love it. So I finished the block over a year ago, as I said, and it just sat because it needed to be quilted, and I hate quilting. But I just decided, you know what? I'm gonna do it. So I grabbed some just plain white fabric that I used for the background on this block, put some scrap batting, yay for using up scrap batting, in between my block and my backing, and quilted in straight lines. And actually, I was going to do a crosshatch, you know, where you sew again in this direction. And after I finished these lines, I was done. I was just done. So this is how it's going to look, guys. I'm going to trim it. I will sew it. I'll probably make an envelope back because I just don't have time for zippers. I used to. I did some pillows with invisible zippers. They were pretty. They were gorgeous. They were lovely. No time for that these days. I have 4 kids and this needs to be done. So envelope back it is going to be, and I can't wait to show it to you when it's done. So stay tuned for that. I made a second block back in the day that still needs to be quilted, and as you can see, I did the good old-fashioned pin baste here. I thought about spray basting, but as I just said, I have kids. Who wants their kids walking through spray baste? Because I don't have room down here to spray baste. I was going to do it in my living room, and that just sounded like a mess waiting to happen. So pin baste works every time, and for something this small, it's really not that big a deal. I didn't use that many pins. So the other thing I wanted to mention while I'm showing you this block is, as you can see my lovely Juki over here, that is where I do most of my stitching these days. It's a wonderful machine. I bought it 2 years ago. I love it. I've been using it pretty much nonstop. But if you know anything about Jukis, they tell you in the manual to oil it all the time. And I did. I followed the instructions and oiled it all the time. Well, guess what? That is not how you're supposed to oil a Juki. So I over-oiled, and it started dripping oil onto my sewing projects. And it dripped oil on a quilt that I was making for a friend, which I was able to salvage, and it dripped oil all over this block. And I took a picture, which I will try to insert here if I figure out how to insert photos. If you don't see a picture, I didn't figure it out. I tried to take a picture of how yellow it was, but I did a little research, and I found out that this product is supposed to take oil out of fabric. It's, you know, this is chemicals, guys. This is not natural. This is serious chemicals. But I took my quilt block. I was desperate. I took my quilt block outside. I sprayed this K2R spot lifter on it, and lo and behold, what was once yellow is now almost white. And it did not involve me throwing my quilt block into the washer, which I don't pre-wash my fabrics, so that was a really big deal for me, because I didn't want all that shrinkage to occur before I quilted it. So I am really happy with the results of that product. It took, I would say, about 90% of the stain out of my fabric. This was yellow, like yellow, gross, oil everywhere, and now it's looking pretty good. Very, very happy with that. So I will quilt that up, same, you know, vertical lines as I did with the first one, and show it to you when it's done, or at least my next status update. Oh, I'll get to that at the end, but I wanted to say something about how frequently I would be doing these videos, so I'll mention that at the end. Alright, so now back to the projects that I showed you last time. I was able to complete one more of my foundation paper pieced quilt blocks, and I mentioned this last time, but this long-term scrap project quilt was inspired by a quilt I saw in American Patchwork and Quilting. I believe, I have my quilt journal over here, I believe it was issue number 175. Yep, issue 175. So if you want more details on this, you could watch my first video in the quilting segment. I show all of the blocks I have up to this point, but this is the most recent one. I also did another block in the 2022, sorry guys, from last year. 2022 Designer Mystery So Long from Fat Quarter Shop. And here is block number 3. I love these fabrics. The navies, the blues, the greens. Oh my gosh. Everything about it. The lady who designed the fabric for the 2022 Designer Mystery is Camille Ross Kelly. The fabric collection was Nantucket Summer. It is pretty much out of print, but if you love these blues and these greens, you should probably check out her Dwell fabric line, which came out last fall, but it's still a little bit available. So that is this quilt. I'm super excited with how this is turning out. Can't wait to make more blocks. The next and last quilt that I worked on in the last 2 weeks was this Rose in Bloom block of the month, also from Fat Quarter Shop. As I mentioned in my last video, I have done all of the little 6-inch blocks that you can see in this setting here, and I am just working on the finishing. So I had the finishing all cut out the last time I talked to you, and now I have started sewing some of my half square triangles, and here they are. So one of the big decisions I have to make for this quilt is, you know, how annoyed am I going to be if my hearts are sideways or upside down? The heart fabric, the white, the multicolored hearts on the white background is the background fabric for this quilt, for the finishing, and I don't know how annoyed I'm going to be if they're not all pointing in the same direction. That little sticker you see on this half square triangle here, these are Lori Holt's letter stickers. These are what they look like. They come in different colors. There's some red, some green there. They're awesome. I use them to label my pieces, and you can iron over them. They're really super handy. I also made myself a label for this quilt, which I need to cut down to size, but there you go. Made with Love by Ruth Burke, 2023. So really happy with the progress on that quilt, and hopefully I will work some more on more of those setting half square triangles, because there are quite a few of them. I also had an enormous bag of scraps left over from that block of the month. Fat Quarter Shop is extremely generous with their fabrics, and it's enough to make an entire new quilt. So I purchased this PDF pattern by Chelsi Stratton, I think. Yep, Chelsi Stratton. She and her mom, Sherri McConnell is her mom. They design fabric for Moda Fabrics, and I like their fabric a lot. I also follow their podcast here on YouTube. So they're really, really cute. I really enjoy listening to them, and I love their patterns. So I think this pattern will work really nicely with my bag of scraps. And when I start cutting and putting together some of these heart blocks in here, I will definitely show them to you. So that's it for all of my quilting projects. I will now move on to the knitting portion of this podcast or video, not sure what to call it here, which is going to be really short because basically I didn't knit anything. So I love celebrating the seasons and enjoying each season as it comes. So in the summer, I feel like doing summer things. And for me, that means going to the pool with my kids, picking blueberries, making stone fruit desserts, and that's what summer means to me here in the Northeast. Not knitting, actually. So I did not work on any of my knitting projects. I am certain that I will pick those up probably this coming month. Like by the time this video comes out, it's going to be August and I'll probably be tempted to pick up my knitting. But this past July, not so much. But I did buy some some yarn for a new knitting project, which I will start this fall. It's called the Gradient Scarf, and it uses fiber story yarn, and this camera just does not do. Let me see if I can take this out here. Sorry for the plastic noise. Let me see if I can just take out one of these mini skeins. See, this is a really light pink. It's really pretty. So the yarn in this bag ranges from a very, very light pink to a deep raspberry color. And I absolutely love it. Cannot wait to start this project. It's pretty quick and simple knit. It's gonna be beautiful. Oh, there you go. That's more of kind of the colors. Light pink, deep raspberry. And it's just a bias knit scarf going through each of these colors as it comes along. So really simple, no fancy color work, big impact, my kind of project. Looking forward to knitting that. All right, next up, cross stitch. All right, so I can't wait to share what I have done the last 2 weeks with my cross stitch projects. I have some work in progress that I will share, some works in progress rather, a couple of things that I've made headway on since our last video, and then I have some new charts that I'm going to be starting that I will show you, along with a few things I purchased off Etsy that I'm really excited about. So let's get into it. So my first project that I'm going to talk about is something I mentioned in my last video, Flea Market Flowers. This pattern is by Lori Holt, published by It's So Emma. I love this pattern. I wanted to make it since it came out, and I bought all the floss for it like last year, but I only started it this year. So I am using all of the called for DMCs except this yellow. This yellow, I subbed the yellow that the pattern called for DMC 3821, and I have everything on this floss keep that Fat Quarter Shop designed. And I labeled everything on the back with pencil in case you wanted to see what I did there, so I can erase it and write a new label for my next project. So I'm using all the called for DMCs. I'm using 25 count parchment, Lugana, also by Lori Holt. And here is my progress so far. Since the last time I did a Flosstube, I'll call this a Flosstube, I finished this segment over here. I outlined this square and I started this motif in here. So this is as far as I've gotten. I love, love, love this project. It's a really quick, simple, easy stitch. I love all the color changes. It's a lot of fun. I am stitching 2 threads over 2 on the 25 count parchment. Yes, parchment. All right, my next work in progress here is Heart in Hand Doodles Winter. I thought that I was going to do this whole like Christmas in July cross stitch, and like I said, I'm a seasonal gal. I love celebrating each season, and I had such a hard time making myself start Christmas stuff in the middle of summer. But this pattern has been sitting in my to make list for a while, and so I thought, why not? I love the colors of the floss. I'm using all of the called for over dyes. Forgot to pull them out of my project bag. Let me show this to you on a design board. So I think these are all classic colorworks. Are these weeks dye works? Let me just look right here. These are all classic, no, some classic colorworks, some weeks dye works. And one thing that's been really interesting is this fox right here. I don't know if it's the camera's really focusing very well. Sorry. But my fox is very pink. And on the cover of my pattern, which you can actually see more clearly than my project right now, the fox is red. So it's just a variation between dye lots. The particular dye lot of my thread is more pinkish. I don't mind, I love pink, but I thought it was so interesting, you know, that the floss can vary quite a bit, I think, between dye lots. So there you go, that's my progress. Since the last time we talked, I have stitched the fox, I have started this little blue snowflake down here. It's been a lot of fun. This is 32 count Zweigart linen from Hobby Lobby, color natural. Like I said last time, I don't know if Zweigart is still making this linen, but it was the color natural. I am stitching 2 threads over 2. The last work in progress from last time is This Is the Day by Plum Street Samplers. Love this pattern. I love it. And this again was my first foray into slightly higher count linen. I am stitching this on 36 count. What is this, Cream and Sugar? I think Cream and Sugar. Yep, from Fiber on a Whim. And I haven't done too much since we last talked. I've done a lot of fill-in on this vase here, and I'm almost done. And this has been a lot of fun. Ooh, there we go. Perfect. A lot of fun. I'm loving stitching with all the beautiful threads. You can see all those gorgeous colors. Yes, love these. These are all, there's a bunch of overdyes in here, some DMCs, all the called for. I haven't changed anything. If I change anything, I will let you know. But right now, I am not changing any of the colors. So, but I will as I go along. If it's not showing up right on this fabric, then I will absolutely change it. Okay, so the last few things I wanted to share, a couple of exciting things. I went to visit my parents recently, and while I was there, my mom and I were looking at my grandmother's old things, and we found her sewing box. She used to sew. She made herself garments. I think she was quite an accomplished seamstress. And I found in her sewing box these beautiful embroidery snips. So with my mom's permission, I brought them home, and I love using them. They live in one of my project bags, and I just love having them. I don't know, it's really special. So that's exciting. The other exciting things are, this was my birthday month, and so in honor of my turning 40, I decided to do 4 for 40. So I'm doing 4 new starts. I was a little bit inspired by some of the birthday sew-alongs that I saw in other people's Flosstubes. Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch, Nicole Spohr, they all did birthday starts. But I thought since I'm turning 40, I would do 4 new starts. So I picked 4 charts, and the first chart is Remember Me by Teresa Kogut. I love this chart. I'm really excited to stitch this. I think I'm going to stitch it on this 32 count antique white Zweigart linen. It's still in the bag. And I bought all of the called for DMCs, and it looks like there's a couple of overdyes in here too. Classic Colorworks and Weeks Dye Works. So right now, that's the plan. If I start stitching on it and it's not turning out the way I want, I will switch the fabric. But that's the first chart I picked for my 4 for 40. My second chart is The Winter Is Past by Blackbird Designs. I'm really excited about this chart too. I love blue and pink, but this one's blue. I already know I'm going to go lighter on my linen, but since I'm going down to Alexandria this coming month, I will be visiting a cross stitch shop down there, and I thought it'd be really fun to pick out my threads and my fabric in person. So probably in the next video, you'll get to see the linen I pick, any thread conversions. I will definitely mention those there, but I think I'm going to do this on a 36 count. We'll see. 36/40. I don't want to presume, but I love linen and I'm excited to try higher thread counts, so we'll see. We'll see what they have too. I'm going to be limited by what they have in the shop. The next chart that I'm excited to start is Rejoice Evermore by Brenda Gervais of With Thy Needle and Thread. I love this chart. I love the birds, I love the blues and the pinks. I think I'm going to go with all of the called for threads, which I believe are mostly overdyes and maybe some DMCs. Yep, some overdyes and some DMCs. I will be also selecting my linen at the cross stitch shop. Probably, again, a 36 or 40 count. This is a pretty large design, so I don't want it to be too big. So probably we'll do a 36 or 40 count. So we'll see. I will stay tuned for the linen that I pick for this chart. The last chart, I think it's the last chart in my 4 for 40, is going to be a Hello from Liz Matthews pattern called Poppy. On Etsy, there's a shop called Hillside Rookery. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. And she does these really amazing, well, first of all, have to give credit where credit is due. I was watching Brenda and the Serial Starters Flosstube, and they mentioned this shop. And that fact that the owner sells kits of NPI silk with just enough threads for you to make the charted design. So you don't have to buy a full skein of silk if you don't need it. And I thought that was a great idea. And it definitely makes some of these smaller charts way more affordable. So I went on Etsy and I bought the kit for Poppy, the pattern from Hello by Liz Matthews, in coral, in the coral colorway. And it comes, she stamps the floss drops with the NPI number, so you know exactly what color you have. And oh my gosh, it's so soft. Look at those colors. I love it. I can't wait. I love it. This is enough silk to stitch the chart 1/2, one strand over 2. So I will probably be picking a 36 or 40 count linen. We'll see, but that's what I'm thinking for now. 36 or 40 count. I will purchase the PDF of the pattern, which is also available on Etsy if anyone's curious. And when I get to the cross stitch shop, I'll probably hold these threads up. Or maybe I'll hold them up to some of the linen I already have and just see. Because I actually don't know how big of a piece. And if these colors look really good on that cream and sugar, which I actually think they might, I might just use some of that. It's a huge piece. I'm not going to need it all for that one design. So that might be what I do. Actually, use what I already have. Love it. Okay, so last chart in the 4 for 40. And then just a couple of quick things. I mentioned last time that I was doing that B alphabet sampler by Primrose Cottage Stitches. I purchased another chart in their B, from their B collection. I Rather Be Stitching is what this one is called. And it's really cute. It's also a small chart, and it also calls for all DMCs. So this will be a quick stitch. I think it's going to be really cute, and it will match my other one. So I can have them kind of, you know, I can have more matchy decor if I want. So I will be stitching this on Pale Gray Gingham by Fabric Flair, most likely the 28 count instead of the 14 count, which is, I think, out of stock right now. So might have to wait a few weeks, but I will be ordering the fabric for this and getting started soon. And then last but certainly not least, I found these adorable mini hoops on Etsy. I would take them out of the package, but I do not want to lose, see the back? It's beautiful. It's like it's supposed to be like a cherry color stain. I thought it would be really fun to use some of the alphabets and some of these sampler charts to stitch like a little letter or something, frame it, and then use it as a charm on some of my project bags. So whenever I get around to that, who knows when that will be, I will definitely show you my fully finished object. I've been looking at these mini hoops for a really long time, and they're so cute. It's a little bit of a craft project because there's like a wood piece you have to glue onto the back after you hoop your design and all that, but I don't think it's going to be that hard, so we'll see. But I'm really excited. These are super cute, and I think they would make adorable little charms on some project bags. So that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed seeing what I'm working on. Quick thing that I wanted to mention here at the end, I will try to upload a new video about once every 2 to 3 weeks. We'll see how that goes, you know, as we head into school and the holiday season. There's the potential for maybe more videos since I will probably be working on holiday projects, or the opposite could happen and, you know, I get busy with the kids and maybe it's once every 3 weeks or something like that instead of 2 weeks. But the hope is that I will get on here fairly regularly and show you, you know, what I've been up to. So thanks again. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.